Your children are not your children, they are sons and daughters of a life longing for itself. Continuum Concept, as explained by Jean Liedloff in her 1975 book, is the idea that in order to achieve optimal physical, mental, and emotional development, human beings, especially babies, require the kind of experience to which our species adapted during the long process of our evolution. We may live in the modern age where life is very different, but our genes evolve very slowly. That means that babies are born genetically equipped for life as it was lived thousands of years ago. They aren't designed to handle what we ask of them in our modern culture. What does this involve? Usually, constant physical contact with his mother or father from birth, sleeping in his parents' bed in constant physical contact until he leaves of his own volition, often about 2 years. Breastfeeding on cue, nursing in response to his own body's needs and signals. Being carried most of the time in arms or otherwise in contact with someone, usually his mother, and allowed to observe while the person carrying him goes about his or her own business until the infant begins creeping, then crawling on his own impulse, usually at around 6 to 8 months. The other is having caregivers immediately respond to his signals, like crying, without judgment, displeasure, or invalidation of his needs, yet showing no undue concern or making him the constant center of attention. There is also sensing his elders' expectation that he is inherently social and cooperative and has strong self-preservation instinct, and that he is welcome and worthy. Contrast. A baby subjected to modern Western childbirth and childcare practices often experiences traumatic separation from his mother at birth due to medical intervention and placement in maternity wards in physical isolation, except for the sound of other crying newborn babies. With the majority of male babies further traumatized by even being medically unnecessarily circumcised through surgery. Then at home, there is sleeping alone and isolated, often after crying himself to sleep. There is scheduled feeding with his natural nursing impulses often ignored or pacified. Being excluded and separated from normal adult activities for hours on end to a nursery. Caregivers often ignoring, discouraging, belittling, or even punishing him when he cries or otherwise signals his needs. Evolution has not prepared the human infant for this kind of experience. He cannot comprehend why his desperate cries for the fulfillment of his innate expectations go unanswered, and he develops a sense of wrongness and a shame about himself and his desires. If, however, his continuum expectations are fulfilled precisely at first, with more variations possible as he matures, he will exhibit a natural state of self-assuredness, well-being, and joy. Infants whose continuum needs are fulfilled during the early in arms phase grow up to have greater self-esteem and become more independent than those whose cries go unanswered for fear of spoiling them or making them too dependent. Khalil Gibran tells us this of children. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of a life longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot even visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrows that flies, so he loves also the bows that are stable. And remember, You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. God sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hands, God, be for gladness. For even as God loves the arrows that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. We are indeed sons and daughters of a life yearning for itself.